This episode is all about workplace bullying. Workplace bullying is a very serious topic. If you're interested in it, it might be that you or somebody close to you has experienced it, and it's incremental that you know what to do and you act in your best favor. It can look very differently. I'm going to go through different options that you have and also have my personal take on this. And we're going to sum it up at the end with some points on how to build stronger resilience. So until you can leave or until your solution can unfold, you are staying resilient and, most importantly, sane and healthy. So let's dive in. In my personal experience, I've been in very different companies throughout my corporate career, and I've seen workplace bullying and I've also experienced workplace bullying. And overall, if you want to sum it together, like what it is, it could, for instance, look like making you or somebody in the team look bad. It could mean excluding somebody on purpose, even though perhaps this person is hired for a specific topic. Excluding that person on purpose when talking about their topic could be a form of bullying. It could mean promotions are being handed left and right, and you are always the one that is not getting that. It could be about bonus payments, or even culminate in the idea of trying to make somebody's life miserable so that they leave the company without having to pay a severance package if they're a manager, or specifically, the more higher up you are, the more important this is as well, because the potential severance payment is higher. So these are strategies that most importantly toxic managers use. So it's good if you are fully aware of what's going on and know what you can do about it. The first and most important question that you should ask yourself is it legal what's going on right now? And this is different from country to country and from state to state. So make sure that if you think it has something to do with retaliation, harassment, and things like that based on gender, based on race, then please make sure to get some legal advice from a professional and make sure that your specific situation is not illegal, because if it is illegal, instead of just solving it on your own, you have some rights that you should make use of. So make sure that if you feel it has something to do with retaliation, harassment, based on sex, based on gender, based on race, make sure to consult a professional, get their opinion on it, and then come up with a plan together with this licensed professional to make sure that you are not being taken advantage of because of something that you really cannot change. Let's use this session to dive into what you can do if you feel that yourself or a colleague is being bullied. First and most importantly, make sure that you have an exact record of what is going on. So for instance, if you get nasty emails or you have a horrible meeting where something really irrational and negative is happening, make sure to write it all down with the exact date, time, and the people involved. This helps on the one hand side if it's really gonna be a case for a potential lawsuit, then you are sure that you have all the information needed to make sure that this is just not your subjective point of view. And this already brings me to my next point. Just writing down what exactly happened without judging what it is, without saying how it felt, but literally just what exactly has happened in a very neutral tone will help you to figure out if just something's not nice, somebody's not nice, or somebody's actively trying to sabotage you, right? It's a very important distinction that you have to make, and you need to be able to separate your judgment from what has actually happened and stay with the facts. I know it can hurt sometimes, but it doesn't mean that it's always bullying. And then make sure that not only you yourself, but take somebody on your side, it could be your partner or it could be a good friend, that you fully trust. You tell them the story, tell them what happened, and then show them your list of records and ask them for their honest feedback. Do they also feel that this is unjust, or is it only very negative behavior of a bad boss, but not bullying, not against you, but just a boss not knowing literally what they're doing? Now, what I always like to tell my clients, and you can use that in many different situations, but especially in situations where you personally have got injured, where you feel like somebody was moving against you, go confront the person and use I messages. iMessages are very, very powerful because, let's say, they separate the people from the problem. And it means that you start with what you have experienced. So I have been in a meeting last week. The meeting was with X and Y people and was about this and that topic. And this exactly is what happened. You stay neutral, stay with the facts. Then you go into how you felt. So this situation made me feel uncomfortable because X, Y, Z, right? So from being very neutral, just describing what has happened, you go into evaluating it and you pronounce that. You say, it made me feel that way, right? So you judge this very neutral situation based on how it made you feel. And then in the end, you make sure that you're very clear. I would like for us, for our corporation in the future, to handle it in this and that way. So you bring a solution to the table and you show openness to resolve the problem. This is really, really important. So you give the other person a chance. Let's just say they're a very young manager and they do not at all know what they're doing. And they're sometimes perhaps triggered and they overreact and they let something out on you. You give them the chance to actually take a step back, see what they've done wrong, and improve their behavior. Then make sure that you write a follow-up email to that person, very exactly detailed in nice bullet point list what has happened. You say, thank you again for the meeting that we had earlier today. I want to just quickly summarize what has happened and what the solution is that we both agreed on. And here it comes. This is really, really important that you confront that person and that you write a follow-up email about the confrontation. Confronting the person does not mean like you aggress that person. It just means you make sure that you talk with this person about that topic, and thereby you have some proof of this discussion as well. This is important because if the situation continues and you have to go to your manager or your manager's manager, if your manager was involved, or even to HR, you have a track record of emails that specifically state what has happened and that you were proactively trying to resolve the situation before reaching out to a higher instance. Very, very important. Do not miss that point. If you feel like you have to include the HR department, please take a look also at your company's values and make sure that what this manager or other person is doing is not aligned with those values, because perhaps it's just a normal business environment for this specific company. And that would mean that it's just not a fit because your values and the company values are just too different. And it's better for you to move on instead of creating a bit fuss at a company where this behavior is actually considered normal. At this point, you know you've done all that you can. And if these things don't get better, then I would urge you to create an exit plan for yourself to make sure you're stable, but you can move on from this unhealthy situation. And now the most important part, building resilience. This is important for any kind of career, but it's specifically important if you oftentimes feel like you're kind of in this victim situation where somebody else is taking advantage of you or sabotaging against you. First and foremost, I want to say that you do not have to be a victim. Being a victim is, at least in this situation, something that you decide to be. Once you step into action mode and you learn those things and you actually apply them, you can transform your whole life because you go from victim to creator mode. And this is what I want you all to do. And this is what I really am here for. So make sure that you not just listen to this, but actively apply it and feel and build those reference stories for yourself where you feel that you have a choice. You can make a difference and you can decide what is okay. What do you accept in your career and what is just not acceptable at all for you? Okay. So make sure that if you feel in victim mode, you step into creator mode again and you take the responsibility for your life and for your career back, because nobody can take that away from you. So back to resilience. How do we build resilience? Make sure, and this is why work-life balance is so important, that you have a nice network of friends and family that you can be honest with and talk to. And it's okay if you need to cry in front of them. It doesn't matter what you tell them. It doesn't matter if you have to just vent at some point and get all this negative emotion, this negative energy out. You need a close circle of friends, and literally can be one or two. That's enough. You don't have to have 20 friends. One or two close friends or family members that you really trust are enough. And then make sure that you stay in touch with those people. Do not let, your work get in the way of you calling your best friend once a week. There's no excuse. We can all do that at least on the weekend. So make sure you have a close circle of people that you fully trust, that you can, talk to about anything. If that's not enough, you always have the option to get therapy, get a coach, and get a professional included in the mix, where you know that everything that you say is confidential and cannot be, in any way used against you. Nobody will laugh about you. Nobody will make jokes. It is very professional environment, and take that to the mix as well. If you feel like your personal environment right now is perhaps not the strongest and you need somebody else to talk to on a regular basis to figure out what to do next and how to get out of this toxic situation. Do regular grounding exercise. This is so important, specifically if you're working in a job where you're in front of the PC a lot, where you don't walk a lot, where you're not a lot in nature, right? So most of the jobs really. Do grounding exercises. Grounding exercises could be anything like walking barefoot, using a gratitude journal. Again, you know that we have an amazing journal. Check out the bio or check out the caption. Do meditation, do sports, do something that has you connect with yourself. This is so, so important, because without that, it's very hard to make good decisions. It's very hard to have a neutral and clear communication if you are not grounded. Because if you're not grounded, what happens is like your thoughts are taking over, and they're spiraling thoughts. There can be downward spirals in negativity, and you need to be grounded to make sure to make good decisions, because your head is straight, your head is clear, and you can think about things from an observer's perspective. It's very, very important. So don't take that lightly. Make sure that you do your grounding exercises regularly. Make sure that you are on the beach, take off those shoes and walk barefoot on the beach. Go swim in the ocean. Go, just in general, walking barefoot, sitting on the ground. Do all those nice things that we used to do as children and integrate them again in your everyday life. Make sure that you have something like a journal. It could be a little notebook, or it could be a journal like we have down in the caption. And make sure that you regularly write down what has happened, how you felt about that, and try to answer the question, does this impact my worth? Does this impact my worth? Because very, very often we tend to make this weird conclusion that something that other people do to us has something to do with us, which is not the case. It's not the case. The problem is with the other person. It's not with you. But you are the one that needs to make the distinction. Okay? Don't let anybody else make that distinction for you. It's your decision if it's because of you or not. And I can tell you, it has nothing to do with your worth. It might have to do with how you show up. It might have to do with how you communicate. It might have to do with the fact that the other person, for some reason, thinks they're superior to you and can treat you that way. But this, again, it has nothing to do with your worth. Now, you can learn to set boundaries. There's a podcast episode about that. Just check it out and listen to it. You can do stuff about it. It doesn't mean you have to sit back and be like, oh, it's the other person's problem. But make sure that you do not take the conclusion that it has something to do with your worth and with who you are as a person. What many people don't understand is also staying resilient and staying clear in your head and healthy has a lot to do with how you eat. Make sure that you eat as healthy as you can. We don't need to discuss it. I think it's crystal clear that the less processed foods are, the healthier they are. I personally love to have the whole food plant-based diet. I'm a huge fan of that. If you don't agree with that, that's totally fine. Just make sure to eat as, the least sugar possible, the least processed possible, as natural as possible, just the way it's intended to be, the way it used to be 50, 100 years ago. Okay? And do some sports, also part of being healthy. And it doesn't have to be a triathlon. Just go out and walk for 10 minutes each day outside, and you will feel a shift. What I always like to do, especially during the times where it got really stressful at work, is I implement those things in a morning routine. And I couldn't have a long routine because I needed to get up sometimes I would get up at 5:30. I did my morning routine. I got my coffee. I prepared my stuff, and then I went to work. I commuted for nearly an hour sometimes if there were traffic jams. I had to work really late because there are tons of things going on, commute back an hour. And sometimes I had something in the evening, meaning I was home at 9. And I know how it is. Don't put too many things in your routines. But what I always did and what saved my art in this situation was to get up, do 10 minutes of some sports. It could be 10 minutes of yoga. For me, it was either 10 minutes of yoga, or if I was in a good mood, 10 minutes of some, YouTube video. There were some CrossFit kind of things that you don't need any weights and whatnot. You just need a mat and that's it. So I did 10 minutes of sports only, and then 10 minutes of meditations. And this set me up to be so much better, to show up as a good person, to show up as a real Fehler. Okay. So make sure, even if it's just 10 minutes, to include that in your routine. And then last but not least, the most underestimated thing of being resilient is having a vision for you and your life and career. Okay? If you have a vision with a purpose behind that, if you are there not only to make money and get a paycheck and move on with your life, but if you are there to actually make a difference, if you're showing up at your workplace like I'm here, I'm showing up because I want to make organizations better from the inside. I want to help you to show up as a good, honest, authentic person. And yes, create a lot of money from that as well. But I'm here because I think it's important that good people like you stay in the organizations, that you stay healthy, and that you can show up for yourself and talk for yourself and stay in creator mode and don't go into victim mode just because somebody else decided that it would be easy to push you over. Okay. So this is my vision. And the thing is, even if I have a bad day, and it happens to me too, then I still have this vision to hold on to. And this vision is so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than a paycheck. It's so much bigger than I want to present myself on social media. It's nothing that I ever intended to do, believe me. But the vision is so big, I cannot just not do it. And everything in between, every challenge coming up, even the horrible bosses that I had in my past, I now know that I could have learned from them. I learned from them because now I can relate to what you guys are going through, okay? So make sure that you have a vision for yourself, for your life, and then make your career part of that vision. And that way, you are so much more resilient because you overall are so much stronger than you think you are, okay? Yes, there's some narcissists. They think they're better, stronger, etc. than everybody. Most of us aren't that way. Most of us are normal. Most of us are healthy in our heads. And don't get fooled. Don't let yourself get played by those other people, right? Stay resilient, stay attuned, know what you're here for, have a vision for your life and career that's bigger than yourself. And that way it will be so easy to just disregard, just not give your time, energy, and thought into what the negative people out there want to do, not thinking too much about what the horrible boss told you once. If it's a horrible boss, just close the chapter, erase everything that they said to you ever, and move on, because your life and your energy is not worth it. It's worth so much more. Okay, so value yourself, value your energy, value this time that you spend on this amazing earth. And then, if that has helpful in any kind of way, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I would really, really appreciate that. And if you feel there's some other way where I can help you, go through the captions. There are tons of ways that I could support you. So just reach out if there's anything up. And I'm really much looking forward to having you again here in the podcast soon. Bye.